one observation. I was not a naval officer. I was enlisted. I worked for a living.
Well, that's close.
Yeah. I want to thank Mark for inviting me. Actually, what he did was he laid down a challenge without realizing it. I got a text from Mark, who I didn't even think I knew at the time, saying, "I'd really love you to come and read at my venue, but it's so far away for you." I had to come.
You're going to have to get really close to the mic.
I'm going to have to, and I hate microphones. Okay. I'm used to much smaller rooms.
We got a low overhead here.
That too.
That's better.
Okay, so thank you, Mark, for inviting me. Thank you all for sticking around for this. I wasn't sure what I wanted to read in terms of published work, but since Mark mentioned that he is an archaeologist, let's go with the first piece. It's called Elegy. Dig the small grave and place the smaller body so, just so. The chill may rain and the warm human tears falling on her head will serve as the ritual washing of this pup, barely 2 days old. Some future digger after truth, alien or human, kneeling with trowel and brush at this grave, will note in clear, careful script the wonder that a people would be so deliberate with the smallest of their God's creations and so careless of themselves. And since Andy and Diane both had to lay down some musical challenges, this is from National Poetry Month 2013, when I rose to Az Johnson's challenge from Writing Nights Press and did my first 30 in 30 days. It's called Jazz Me. Start me deep with jungle rhythms. Add sugar cane and soils containing languages we'll learn to soon discard. Give me baptism by fires in the darkest of the night, and then escape with me while our others wallow. While our others follow missionary tracks of black motes noted on white sheets, we will fix on fusion. We will find the star stuff in each free improvisation. I will riff your body with my fingers, bring forth emanations with my lips, while you pluck counter notes and melodies to see us off the stage beyond percussive endings, deep in God. What I'm doing for National Poetry Month nowadays, I did it last year and I'm almost done doing it this year, is I produce a limited edition, subscription-only chapbook of a month's worth of poems, and all of the proceeds from that go directly to the St. Baldrick's Foundation, which is the second biggest financer in the world of research for childhood cancer. I come from a family of cancer people. My mother-in-law, my wife, myself, the oldest daughter, just everywhere. So that's, with 6 grandkids, is a good way for me to spend a month. So the rest of the evening is going to be from the stuff that I've been doing this month. First one was prompted by my friend Mary Carol Hackett from Virginia, a wonderful poet and teacher. She put out a bunch of prompts, and one of them was, write a poem with the title, When the Music Freezes. Okay, I'm a great-grandfather. I don't color too well within the lines. So this became called Cool Stillness Evaporates. When the music freezes, when the long steel blade of the sax hangs in the air above your head, when you wait for it to fall, and you wait and want, and you see the jazz man's face become a red balloon, the image of the scream, the wanting for release, it is then the cool stillness turns to steam. One of the things I brought back from Southeast Asia with me back in 1969 was a touch of PTSD. I still have my regular nightmares about things that happened. And sometimes my wife gets very tired of my screaming in the middle of the night. I can't understand why. Yeah. Dreaming of resurrections. When the screaming wakes you, don't take comfort in another room, leaving me alone to play solitaire with a loaded deck of dreams, quite willing to wreck my brain and stretch me on the rack of unforgotten memories. Turn to face me, hold me, enfold me. My nights are not contagious, and fear runs at the sight of love. Chronophobia is a one-word note in one of my notebooks, and I finally got around to looking it up. It's a fear of time, pretty obvious once you realize it. It's most common among prisoners because time's not moving fast enough for them. They fear it's never going to pass. And old people, for exactly the opposite reason. Tempus fugit, time just moves too fast for us. And this is called Chronophobic Triptych. The left panel. The old man attends the funeral, the words of the priest as comfort for those still confined, who wait on their release with longing and anxiety. Centerpiece. He walks early spring streets as the yellow buses stop, recalling when his children filled the sidewalks and lawns with noise and smiles and later on, first held hands. One August afternoon, newlyweds move in where the widow Johnson lived in a self-made nunnery. The kids on the block feared getting their ball from her yard. His daughter and grandson visit a bit more often, to keep at bay the leaves refilling his lawn like scarves cascading from the hat of a stage magician called upon to fill idle family afternoons. This many steps to the door, this many more to make it down the snow-touched driveway. Right at the corner, right, left, no, damn it, right, and right again. Home. I fooled you, time, once more. Right panel. 6 men, good and strong, to carry the slight weight, the soulless shell alone that's left. Memories grow heavier, but in the end, we leave them to burden other shoulders. It's called 3 Lives. They meet in distance, exchange pet names, deep secrets, against tomorrow. He calls her his dove, his fingerprints on her lips spoil morning makeup. She uses sweet words reserved for their private life, never for her husband. It's a woman I met in college back in 1966 who managed to stay friends for 20-some years. And then our relationship just went different paths. Saw a picture of her back at the beginning of the century, just after her father died. And that was the last time I saw or heard of her. We'll always have, the last time I saw you was in someone else's picture. You were resting in the sun during a Cascades climb. One of the things to take off that bucket list of yours. I only have memories of you, and memories of pictures from your college graduation and a Colorado square dance. Our friendship null and void, it made no sense to keep them. That last picture haunts me. A few years later, my wife slayed her dragon, and after that, I did the same. But for you, cancer showed in every sunken wrinkle. It was too late for us and too late for you. Conversation overheard in a restaurant a couple weeks ago. I try not to eavesdrop too much, but sometimes it's just too valuable to hear what other people have to say and tuck it away in a book somewhere and drag it back out. Lady was complaining to her friend over lunch about how easy it was made by her husband for her to cheat. At midnight, she sees clearly. We recite just-made poems to each other in the night, like bakers sprinkling flour while kneading dough, like children singing songs and eating ice cream, like artists naming rainbows with each stroke. After the fire has passed, I want you to lie awake. Why turn your back, pretend to sleep beneath my touch? Why make unfaithful easy? I worked for Lewis University outside of Chicago for a number of years before I retired. My title was Text Acquisitions Manager, which means I dealt with textbooks every day for 5 years. And publishers. Not your kind of publisher, though. By the signs. She walks across campus in the rain, moving to a music only she can hear. On her head, an Aunt Jemima rag. This is what I noticed first. Perhaps the hated symbols of her mother's youth translate differently to her friends. I'll never really know. I can't. Old white grandpas from the suburbs, from the 60s, never will. And there's really no good way to ask, to seek an understanding across the divide of our times. I don't know if the show was nationwide or if it was isolated to the Chicago area, but a thing called Captain Kangaroo, kids show. And Captain Kangaroo had a sidekick named Mr. Green Jeans, who was a farmer. Diane's nodding her head, so it obviously wasn't just a Chicago thing. Anyway, once upon a time, Mr. Green Jeans had a chance to speak about love. Start with good soil. The kind that's warm and soft in your hands, that loves the sunlight and the rain, even gets along with big fat worms burrowing through, making things better while looking for an honest, loving home. Don't plant too many seeds. More will grow than you expect, and it'll be hard to pull the extra ones, never knowing which one might have been more perfect in your imagination than the one you saved to nurture. Sunlight, that's obvious, though some need more and some less. Water, a longer, gentler rain being the best, as opposed to suffocation by drowning. And warmth. You wouldn't want to sleep bare outside if it freezes, and neither will what you planted. Annual or perennial? Choice, I guess, though I sure don't want to be starting all over and all that good stuff every year myself. Whatever, don't be afraid to keep watch, to work, get your heart and hands dirty, and no matter what you've heard, it's okay to sing. Don't tell my wife that last part. I don't have a singing voice, and she will attest to that. It doesn't stop me, though. Perhaps the returning birds. Pigeons tussle on the pergola, fighting or a mating dance. Remind you of anyone you know? Taking a cue from the birds returning to last year's nest, we do our courtship steps. And perhaps one sunny day you'll find me sitting in our tree, whistling as you walk by. I want to thank you very much. I've got some chapbooks for sale. If you're interested, see me afterwards. And it's all yours.
We forgot to thank Diane a second time, and Len from Chicago. Thank you guys for coming. Much appreciated. This past week, myself and Steve Abbott and